What's up guys, Perry from Rockville here, and today I'm going to show you how to set up your mini RF1 V3. These lights come in both colors of black and white, but the setup for each is the exact same. So as you can see, it comes with the light itself. You also get a charger to charge your light and a wireless remote to control your light if you don't want to use the buttons on the light itself. I also have this second light here that's linked to my first light so that you can see the effects. We're actually going to go over how to link the two lights together through the master slave feature later on. So first let me show you guys how we can position our light. If you take a look, you'll see this bracket here along the light, and on each side of the light you're going to see these knobs right there. So we can loosen these knobs like this, and now you'll see we're able to move the bracket around just like that. So we can use the bracket to angle the light any way we want. So for example, if we wanted to angle the light like this, we can just tighten the knobs to hold the bracket in place. And now our light will be locked in this position, which is great for wall washing if we put the light a few inches away from the wall so that the light hits the wall the way we want. And it is adjustable. You can bring it up a little bit like that, or even move it further back like that. We can also use the bracket to mount our light onto a truss, and to do that we're also going to need a lighting clamp like our very own LC70 here. So to attach the lighting clamp, we're going to take a look at the bracket. We're going to find this hole in the middle here. Next we're going to take our lighting clamp and remove the bolt from the clamp just like this. Next we're going to take the bolt and run it through the hole here. Run it all the way through. You might have to twist it a little bit. We're just going to keep going until it's completely up, just like that. Next we're going to take our lighting clamp and line up the hole here on the bottom to the bolt like this. And then we're just going to screw the clamp on. Now when you go to mount the light onto your truss, you're going to loosen this butterfly screw here until there's enough room for the clamp to fit onto your truss. Then you're just going to pick a spot on your truss where you want to attach your light, and then screw the butterfly screw until it's fully secured to the truss. From there you're still able to angle the light any way you want so that it hits the stage or the subject how you want. There's also rubber feet on the bottom of the light so you can place it down just like that. You can use the feet to line the light up flush against your wall, which is another good wall washing setup. And with the feet you can place the light inside of a totem stand to illuminate it with the scrim. Any wall washing setup is great to use if you want to light up a DJ facade. So you could either place the light on an angle like that to illuminate the panel, or you can place the light completely flush against the panel. And the more lights you use, the more illuminated the facade will be. So you could place 4 lights up against each panel to illuminate the full facade. So let's get to know the light by going over the controls and functions. On top here we have the power button to power on or power off the light. Underneath we have the charging port so we can plug in our charger and start charging the light. You can actually see the battery life on the display, so when it's all the way charged, you're gonna see this bar here lit up all the way to the green. When the battery gets to the midway point, it's only gonna be filled up to the orange or yellow bar, and then it's just gonna display the red bar once it's on low battery, so that's when you should charge your light. The display will also show what mode the light is set to. You can also see whether the light is set to master or slave mode, and you can also see which wireless frequency color the light is set to. Underneath we have the buttons to control the light. So first we have the mode button here so we can cycle through the different modes that we have available. Next to the mode button we have the up button to cycle up between different settings. And then next to that we have the down button to cycle down between settings. Then at the end we have the enter button so we can go into. So now that we know all that, let's go through the different modes for the light. If you want to follow along, use the mode button here and cycle until you get to the first mode, which is the app mode. So the app mode allows you to sync up your lights to the downloadable app that we have to control your lights. It is available for both iOS and Android, but there are a few differences between the two. But don't worry, we have two separate videos you can check out if you need any help with the iOS version or the Android version. So back to the app mode, if you press enter, you can see the unique code that you can use to link your lights to your phone. We're gonna go through all of this later on, but basically you're gonna go into the Wi-Fi settings of your phone and search for this code to link your lights to the phone, and then you can use the app from there. There are 4 different app groups you can assign your lights to, and to cycle between those different app groups, you're gonna use the up or down buttons here. So for example, if I wanted to set my light to app group 2, I'm gonna cycle up to app group 2 like that. Moving on to the next mode, we have the RF group mode. With this, we can assign our lights to one of the 4 RF groups so we can control the lights with our remote. We'll also go through this later on, but you can use the up and down buttons here to assign your lights to the different RF groups available. So you can assign your lights to one of the 4 RF groups using the up or down buttons, and then you're gonna match your remote to that RF group by using this RF group button here on the top. We'll go through each step with this setup later on as well. The next mode we have is the color mode, so we can set our light to a custom color. So for example, we can press enter in this mode, and this is going to bring us to our first color menu, which is the red menu. From here, we can use the up and down buttons to control how much red we want to come through. So I can use the up and down buttons to set how much red I want. As you can see, it comes through. Then I can press enter again to go to the next color menu. So we have the green menu up next, so we can control how much green we want to come out. So let's go and set it to a good amount of green like that. Then we can go to the next menu and set how much blue we want to come through. We'll set it to a little bit like that. And then we have 3 more menus like white, yellow, and purple to set how much of those colors we want to come through as well. To exit out of these menus, you just have to press the mode button again, just like that. And now we have our own custom color. The next mode we have is the display mode. This allows us to edit the display screen here, so we can either have it set to always on with this setting. If we press the up button and set it to 10, this means the display will disappear after 10 seconds. We also have a setting to make the display disappear after 20 seconds, and then we also have a 30-second option. If you rather the display be shown at all times, you can just cycle to the on setting like that. The next mode we have is the wireless frequency mode. This allows you to set your lights to the same wireless frequency, so you can use them with a wireless DMX controller or use your lights together with the master-slave function. So you can use the up or down buttons to cycle between the different frequencies available, and they are color coded, so that makes it easier to link your lights to either your DMX controller or to another light. You can even cycle to this off option if you don't want to use this feature at all. Next, we have the master mode. So when this is set to on, all of the lights in the chain are going to follow this light. And if this is turned off, then the slave lights are going to look for another light to follow. We're going to set this back to on so that the slave light over here can follow this light. The next mode we have is the DMX address or slave mode. If you want to use your lights with a wireless DMX controller, you're going to set each of these lights to the DMX address mode and set them all to the same DMX address. Or if you have your master light all set up, you're going to set all of the slave lights to this mode as well. Remember, you don't want your master light to be set to this mode. If you press enter in this mode, it's going to bring you to the DMX channel mode, where you can set it either to 6-channel mode or 10-channel mode. We'll go over this again later, but essentially 6-channel mode only allows you to set your lights to a specific color, and 10-channel mode allows you to set your lights to a custom color. It also allows you to set your lights to one of the automated modes, and it also allows you to control variables like speed. Now we're getting into some of the preset modes. So we have the color preset, for example. In this mode, we can cycle between the different static colors like red, green, blue, etc. There's 32 static colors to choose from before it cycles back to red. We can actually set the light to strobe mode by selecting one of these colors, then we can press enter, and then you'll see this menu pop up to control the speed of the strobe. So we can set the strobe to a low setting, so we can have a slow strobe, and then the higher we go, the faster the strobe. The next mode we have is the jump mode, where the light will jump between the different colors. We can use the up and down buttons to adjust the speed of the jump. So the higher I raise it, the faster it will jump between the different colors. And then the lower I set it, the slower the color jump. Next we have the color fade, where the light will fade between each color. There are actually two different settings for this mode, so we can either have it in fade mode 1 or fade mode 2. And then we can adjust the speed of the fade by pressing enter, like that, and using the up and down buttons to adjust the speed, so now it's going faster. And if we want to make it slower, then we're just going to press down, and now you'll see it fades slower. Next we have the sound mode. You can already tell that it's working because the light is changing to the sound of my voice. There are 4 different sound modes to choose from, so this is sound mode 1. Next we have sound mode 2, then we have sound mode 3, which has more of a strobe, and sound mode 4, which is another strobe kind of sound mode. We can press enter in this mode to adjust the sensitivity of the mic that picks up the sound. So if we want the light to interact with sound easily, we can leave it at the 9 setting like this, or we can set it to 1. So now if we're more quiet, the light won't interact with sound at all. But the louder we get, the more the light will interact with the sound. Sound! Sound! And then after that, we cycle right back. So another way we can control our lights is by linking them up to a wireless DMX controller. To do this, we're gonna go through a few steps on our lights first. We're gonna start by pressing the mode button until we get to the wireless frequency mode, which is this one right here. In this mode, we have 7 different frequencies to choose from, and they are color-coded, so all we have to do is make sure our lights and our controller match to the same frequency or color. So the 7 different colors we have are red, green, we also have yellow, blue, we also have purple, cyan, or white. After this mode, we have the master mode. We'll actually want to turn this off for our demo today, so make sure when you're setting it up to set it to the off mode like that. So make sure to do that on both lights, and then we can move on to the next mode here, which is the DMX address or slave mode. You'll actually want to set your lights to the same DMX address, and you can use the up and down buttons to make your adjustments. But for today, we'll set it to 001. While we're in the DMX address mode, we can press enter to select the DMX channel mode. Now this just determines how much control we have over our lights with the controller. There are 2 different options here. So we have the 6-channel mode, which only allows us to set our light to a custom color, and then 10-channel mode, which allows us to set our light to a custom color. We can also set it to one of the automated presets, and then we can also control the parameters like speed. So if you want to toggle to 6-channel mode, you can use the up or down buttons, and same goes for if you want to set it to 10-channel mode. Again, you'll want to make sure to do this on every light you have set up in your chain. So now that our lights are all set up, the next thing we're going to want to do is set up our DMX controller. So like I mentioned, the only way we can use our controller with our lights is by syncing them to the same wireless frequency. We already have that set up with our lights here. Remember, we set them to the white frequency, so we're going to want to do the same exact thing on our controller. To do that, we'll make sure that our controller is powered on, and we also want to turn on the wireless feature for the controller just like that. And then from here, we're gonna use this button to set our light to the white frequency. Next thing we'll do on our controller is activate scanner 1, and now we can go through all of the faders and see what they do for our lights. With fader 1, we can control the brightness for the lights. So for today, we're gonna set that all the way up. Then we have fader 2 to control the red LEDs. So the higher I raise that, the more red comes through. We also have fader 3 that controls the green LEDs. Fader 4 that controls the blue LEDs. 5 controls the white LEDs. 6 controls the yellow or amber LEDs. And then we have 7 that controls the purple or ultraviolet LEDs. Just like that, we have a custom color, and then we can use fader 8 to set this color to strobe mode. So if I set it up just a little bit, you can see a slow strobe, and then the higher I raise it, the faster the strobe. I'm gonna press the page select now to get to faders 9 and 10. With fader 9, I can set my lights to one of the preset modes depending on where I set my fader or what value the fader is set to. To find out which value my fader is set to, I can look at the screen here on the controller, and if I raise the fader up, the value goes up. So that activated the color change mode here. And as you can tell, it's going pretty slow, but then I can use fader 10 to control the speed of any of these modes. So the higher I raise fader 10, the faster the color change. Remember, there are different presets to choose from, so I can set my fader now to value 100. This activated the color fade mode, and again, I can use fader 10 to control the speed of the fade. Now, a way we can control many lights at the same time without a DMX controller is by using the master slave function. For this setup, I'm going to set one of my lights to master mode, and then I'm going to set the rest of the lights to slave mode. So for today, I'm going to set this light right here to master mode, then I'm going to set this light and these two lights here to slave mode. Though before we set any of our lights to master or slave mode, the first thing we can do is set our lights to the same wireless frequency. From here, we can choose one of the 7 wireless frequencies, and remember, they are color coded, so all we have to do is set them to the same number or color. You can do that by using the up or down buttons here. So for today, I'm gonna use wireless frequency 7, or the white frequency here. Once I do that on my first light, I'm gonna do the same exact thing for all of my lights. Now on the light I want to set to master mode, I can go to the next mode here, which is the master mode. I'll want to make sure that this is turned on, and I can use the up or down buttons to set it on or off. So make sure again that it's set on. Then on the rest of the lights, I'm gonna go to the master mode and make sure that this is turned off so that there's no confusion and all of the lights know to follow the master light here. So now I can go to my master light and set it to a mode or a color. And then you'll see that all of the lights start to follow. If you wanted to, you can also set up multiple different groups by using the master slave feature. To do this, I can go to the wireless frequency mode and pick a new wireless frequency. So for today, I'm gonna use number 6 for the cyan wireless frequency. I can then turn the master mode on for my light. Then on the second light, I can set it to the same wireless frequency. Make sure that the master mode is turned off, and then set it back to slave mode. And now if I set the second master light to a different mode or color, you'll see that the second light starts to follow. With the different wireless frequencies available, you can set up multiple different groups at the same time so that they're all doing their independent thing, all by using the master slave feature. Now another way we can control multiple lights at once is by using the RF remote. To do this, we're gonna link our lights and our remote to the same RF group. So if we take a look at the remote, you'll see this RF group button here, and then you'll see these 5 numbers here that correspond with a different RF group. There's also the light bulb on top of the remote to let you know which group it's getting set to. So if we press this button and set it to RF group 1, you'll see that it flashes red, and then we press it again to set it to RF2, which is green. We can press it again to set it to RF group 3, which is yellow, and again to set it to RF group 4, which is blue. We also have an option to change all of the RF groups at the same time with the white group here. So to set the lights to the RF group, we're gonna press the menu button until we get to the RF menu, which is right here. We can use the up and down buttons to cycle between the different groups. Again, there are 4 of them. So for this demo right now, let's set all of these lights to RF group 1. So now on our remote, all we have to do is press the RF group button until it flashes red. And now if I set my lights to a mode or a color, you'll see that they all follow. We can also set up our lights to different RF groups. So I can set these 2 lights to RF group 2 and these 2 lights to RF group 3. Then I can use just one remote to control both groups by going to RF group 2 to change these lights. So now I have them set to green. Then I can set my remote to RF group 3 to change these lights, and let's set them to the pulse mode. I can also set up 2 more groups of lights using the remaining RF groups and have them all doing their own thing. And if I wanted to control all of the RF groups at the same time, again, I can just use one remote and set it to RF group all. Then I can change all of my lights at the same time, just like that. So let's actually break down what each control does here on the remote, starting with the RF group like we went over when setting up the RF groups on our lights. This will allow you to set the remote to the same RF group that your lights are set to, and you have 4 different options of the RF group 1, which is red, RF group 2, which is green, RF group 3, which is yellow, RF group 4, which is blue. And when you click on this RF group, you're gonna see the light on top of the remote flash to that corresponding color. So when it flashes to red, that's set to RF group 1, green for 2, yellow for 3, blue for 4, and then white to control all of the RF groups. You can turn off or turn on the LEDs with the on and off button here. This won't turn the light itself off. You have to do that with the power switch on each light, but you can turn on the LEDs just like that. Next, we have some color options here. So we have red, green, blue, etc. If you look closely, you'll see these options are color wheels. So we can actually use this up and down button here to cycle through each option of each color. We can also adjust the brightness with these buttons here. Next, we have the 4 sound modes here, so we can set our lights to either sound mode 1, sound mode 2, sound mode 3, or sound mode 4. Below that, we have the sensitivity control, so we can control how the lights interact with the sound being picked up. If we want it to be less sensitive, we're gonna press the minus button. And if we want it to be more sensitive, we can press the plus button. At the bottom, we have the different modes. So we have strobe mode, we have pulse mode, we have fade mode, and then we have a color cycle mode. And then right above, we have a speed button to control the speed of these modes. Now, another way to control our lights without a DMX controller or the included remote is by downloading the app. It's available for both iOS and Android. For right now, we're gonna look at the iOS version, but we will have another video on how to use the Android version, which only has a few differences. So to find the iOS version of the app, you can go into the App Store and search Rockville PAR-Control. Once you download it, you can open it up and it'll look something like this. Before we go any deeper on the app, let's find out how to sync our app with our lights. So to do this, we're gonna start by linking just one of our lights to our phone. To do that, I'm gonna use this light right here. I'm gonna press the mode button until I land on the app group mode. Then once I'm on the app group mode, I'm gonna press enter to reveal this unique code. This code is gonna show up on the Wi-Fi settings of my phone so I can link the phone to the light. So let's do that right now. I'm gonna go into my settings here, gonna look for the Wi-Fi settings, and then if we scroll through the Wi-Fi networks, you're gonna see Rockville C4C, which matches with our light. So I can go ahead and click on that network. And now you can see my phone is paired to the light. And I can press enter here to get back to the app group settings on the light. So to check to see if it's working, I can set my light to one of the 4 app groups. Right now it's set to app group 1. So now if I take a look at the app here, you're gonna see these 4 groups show up, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I can select app group 1 here at the bottom. You'll see that it shows up on my light. So now that we got our first light set up, let's go over how to sync the rest of our lights to the app. I'm just gonna start by turning on the rest of my lights here. So the first thing we have to do to pair the rest of our lights to our app is link all of these lights to my first light here. We're gonna do this by linking all of our lights to the same wireless frequency. I'm gonna do that on my first light here by pressing the mode button until I get to the wireless frequency mode. We have 7 different wireless frequencies to choose from, and they're all color coded. So number 1 is red, 2 is green, 3 is yellow, 4 is blue, 5 is pink, 6 is cyan, and 7 is white. So we're just gonna pick one of these 7 colors. For today, I'm gonna pick number 7 or white, and then I'm gonna go to the rest of my lights in the chain and set them all to the wireless frequency mode. And then just like on the first light, I'm gonna set them all to 7 or the white frequency. So now that we have all of our lights synced to the same wireless frequency, the next thing we're gonna do is go to the master mode on all of our lights. Okay, see? Okay. You can see that both of these lights here are set to master mode, but we only want it on for our first light that we synced to our phone. So I'm gonna go to the second light and make sure that it's turned off, and I'm gonna make sure that it's turned off for the other lights as well. Remember, we only want this on for the first light, so we're gonna keep this one on. And now once that's all set, we're gonna set all of our lights to the app group mode. We recommend every now and again going back to the Wi-Fi settings and making sure your phone is connected to your first light. You can see that it's out of sync right now. So if that happens, you're just gonna click on the code again, and then you'll see it'll sync back up. So now from here, we can choose which app group we want our lights synced up to. For this first example, I'm gonna leave them all set to app group 1. Once I know which app group I'm using for all of the lights, I'm gonna go to every light except for the first light and set them all to the wireless DMX or slave mode. So I'm gonna do that on my second light here. And then I'm gonna do the same thing on the other 2 lights on the ends. Remember, we wanna leave our first light alone. So now from here, I can go back to the app, select app group 1, then I can pick a mode or color, and you'll see all of the lights will follow. If this doesn't work at first, we recommend turning off all of the slave lights and then turning them back on. Make sure they're set to the wireless DMX or slave mode, and then they should follow your master light here. So now I want to show you how to set each light up to their own group. The first thing we're gonna do is set our lights back to the app group mode. So before we set all of our lights to the same app group 1, but now we're gonna set them all to a different app group. So I'm gonna set this light to app group 2 by using the up or down buttons. I'm gonna set this light here to app group 3 and this light here to app group 4. We're still gonna leave our first light as it is, and on the rest of the lights, we can cycle back and make sure that they're still set to the same wireless frequency. Go to the next menu and make sure that the master mode is still turned off for the rest of the lights. Remember, we only want the master mode on for the first light. Then we're gonna set these 3 lights back to slave mode. Remember, you don't have to set your first light to slave mode. And if you don't see your lights reacting at first, remember you can turn them off and turn them back on. To make sure all of your lights are synced up, you can check the wireless frequency icon here and make sure that it's flashing. Remember to check to see if the wireless frequency icon is flashing to know all of your lights are synced up. So now I can activate each group at a time. So I can go to app group 1 and set it to the red color. I can now unselect app group 1, select app group 2, and set it to a different color like green. I can unselect app group 2, click on app group 3. I'm gonna set this one here to orange. There you go. Unselect app group 3, select app group 4, and set it to blue. And even though all of these lights are set to their own group, I can click them all at the same time and set them to the same color, just like that. The app has a ton of other features, like this color wheel here. We can select any custom color if we drag along, just like that. Once you've found a custom color that you really like, you can pre-save it by looking for these spaces underneath your static colors here and just click on one of them. Then you'll see that it's saved, so anytime you need to recall that color, you can just click on it like that. And then you can free the space back up by holding it down, and now you'll see that the custom color is forgotten. You can also control the brightness of the lights with this bar here, so you can lower the brightness like this, or you can bring it back up like that. On top here, you can turn off the LEDs like that and bring them back on just like that. We have 3 different menus to check out down here. So we can go to the mode menu, and then you'll see all of these pre-saved modes. So we have RGB cycle, color strobe, amber pulse, and so on. With any of these modes, we can control the speed parameter, so we can make it go slow, like that, or we can bring the speed up, like that. We can also control the brightness here, and we can set our light to any of the static colors. Next, we have the sound mode menu, where we can control the sound mode for our lights. Down here, you can select any of the sound modes, so we have sound mode 1. Now you can see as I start to talk, all of the lights start to change. We can control the sensitivity of the microphone here, so if we want it to react to sound easily, we can leave this all the way up, or we can bring it down if we want our lights only to react to really loud noises. So if I talk really soft, you see the lights won't change at all. But as I talk louder, you'll see the lights start to change now as it picks up sound! 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 Lastly, we have the settings menu where you can change the language for the app. You can also clear the cache, check for any updates so you're always on the newest software for the app, and find out more information through the About window here. So hopefully this showed you guys how easy it is to set up your mini RF1 V3 lights. But of course, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to our customer support team through phone or email. As always, I'm Perry from Rockville, and we'll see you guys next time.